Well, we finally gotten the conclusion to the Magistus lore, and it is okay. Yu-Gi-Oh! Card Game The Chronicles Magistus Episode 4, Zoroa the Magistus of Flame, is the final episode of the little series here and features all of our protagonists coming together for the final battle. Or at the very least in the beginning, we see Madame Vera meeting up with Endymion, so we get their little reunion and it is kinda nice getting to see them, especially them being built up in their own episodes. But of course she's gonna be referred to as Rilliona for this episode because that's what everybody else knows her as, and so they both head into the cave where Zoroa is sealed. And actually we get a little clarification here as their friend Zoroa was actually possessed by Varham, an evil deity. So that is why he's been sealed away, and when he breaks out we get to see him in this powered up form as they start to fight, and I gotta admit the animation is okay here, nothing too spectacular or super exciting. Then on top of that there are a good amount of portions where Zoroa is 3D animated, which I don't really have a problem with, at least when you're doing something that makes a little sense, say like big dragons or somebody wearing armor, as we've seen before in the Card Game Chronicles animations. But because Zoroa is relatively human shaped and still obviously has a very complicated design, when he needs to move or do anything cool he's 3D animated, but when he's talking and mad dogging our protagonist he's 2D animated. So I gotta say the inconsistency here made it very noticeable and a little uncomfortable, but thankfully I think it sorta picks up as things go on, as both Rilliona and Endymion's attacks aren't really doing all too much. They are then saved by Aleister, who shows up with an invocation that knocks back Zoroa. So they get to catch up a bit, and it's at least very nice seeing that Aleister doesn't really have anything against them, or at least that he's willing to work together just like old friends in order to stop the evil. But then it establishes how the rest of the fight is going to go, as he says that he can evoke something else that will help him, but he's going to need the others to distract Zoroa in order to give him the time to summon it. And like I said, the fight animation is nothing bad, but still nothing extremely exciting. That is until Aleister completes his invocation and summons a monster, that being Invoke de Anima, this giant dragon that is also 3D animated, so at least when it begins to fight with Zoroa it sorta mixes a little better, because both of them have these big extravagant designs and the 3D animation is done fine enough. But anyway, that is exactly what they need to defeat and subdue Zoroa, who actually is able to take control of his body for a little bit, pushing out Varham in order to tell his friends that they need to seal him forever. So once again, that is at least a nice little moment, seeing all the friends come together and seeing that Zoroa doesn't really have any hard feelings toward them, understanding that he just has no control over his body and it's better to seal him away in order to protect everybody from Varham. But still, honestly, I might have liked an additional episode to show a little bit more of Zoroa's personality before everything happened. I understand that the whole premise of the animations is to focus on one card each, but I mean that is definitely a premise that you could stretch a bit for the sake of telling a good story. So yeah, genuinely I think it could have got one more prequel episode to show them all as friends before everything went down. But anyway, back to the story, they go ahead and say goodbye and seal him away, and thus the day is saved by the 3 remaining mages, which again I do genuinely like their interactions, especially as we got to see them developed in their own episodes. But a very interesting little final bit to end off on here, it turns out that Aleister is actually still asleep, and the Aleister that we've been seeing is actually just a projection of his own body, who disappears off into the wind, and it is very nice that he at least shows he has no ill feelings toward his friends, and that weirdly enough he's enjoying the time that he's been sealed away because he's been able to work in his dreams. But anyway, that has been it for the Magistus lore of the Card Game Chronicles, and I thought it was not bad. As you might have known if you've been watching my other episode reviews of it, I think the Endymion episode was just the best, and overall I think it came together pretty well, especially with this episode actually being the longest, 10 minutes in length for the whole video, so 9 minutes for the animation without the credits. Though as I mentioned, maybe one more episode could have been used to bring everything together, and I gotta say I really would have liked if the final battle was a little bit more extravagant in terms of the animation and the set piece, and especially the setting, because it was just a boring little cave that could have been done a lot better. Nothing huge, but you know, like a little magical dungeon that you would see in D&D or Baldur's Gate or something. I don't know, for being a bunch of magic users, all they really did was fire off some beams and make big old walls and summon monsters, and well, Endymion punches Zoroa at one point, that was pretty cool. But with the limitless potential of magic and a bunch of spell cards that could have been referenced, the potential was much greater than what we actually ended up seeing. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below about this episode of the Card Game Chronicles and the whole Magistus series as well. And I apologize for this video being out like a week late. I know the episode dropped back then, but I've just had a really busy summer, and I'm actually just about to go on another trip. So thank you for staying subscribed and watching the videos, and I hope you enjoy them all. And go ahead and tell me what else you would like to see on the channel. If you enjoyed watching this one, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and hype up the video as well. But anyway, this is Gatorax, and I will catch you all later.